America, good evening, Japan. We're going to get the session started. Please put yourself in mute position, unless you're speaking, of course. And I'm very excited on behalf of the Guru Bancroft Foundation. We would like to thank Union College, DePauw University, Grinnell College, Carleton College. For over the years that we have sent many students there. I counted, currently we have 15 students at these 4 schools, and we are very excited to get this new recruiting started. And today, on behalf of all the participants, we would like to thank you for getting up early in the morning. And we have questions and answer session after presentation is complete. And if time permits, we'll have a breakout session. So you can choose a school that you want and more ability to chat in smaller group, perhaps. So we would like to get the session started with the Union College. Nicole?
Thanks, June. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, it should say Union, so thank you. Well, a little bit about, again, my name is Nicole Bensley, a little bit about Union College. We're a little bit of an outlier in this group. We're located in New York State, so a little further east than my friends here. We are located in a gorgeous region on a residential campus. So like my friends, all undergraduate, liberal arts and sciences. You can see the campus here. The location is not New York City. And so I think it's very important for students to know that there is more to New York than New York City. We are located in what is considered the capital region or capital district of New York State. Schenectady, Albany, and Troy make up that capital region, Albany being the state capital. I mentioned this because it's very easy to get to our campus. You can fly right into Albany International Airport, and we're 15, 20 minutes by car right to our campus. You can take the train or bus from New York City, Boston, or Montreal, and the train and bus station is a 10-minute walk from our campus. So we're really accessible. The other reason I mention our location is because it's very beautiful. So if you enjoy the outdoors, there is a lot of great opportunities for kayaking and rafting and hiking and skiing and climbing. But also our city of Schenectady is small, it's safe, it's welcoming. But because of our location in the capital region, we have over 40 internships just within walking distance of our campus. So just in terms of accessibility for our students to go beyond the classroom, it's quite a vibrant region. Now, our campus, like many in this group, is, as I said, small and undergraduate. So our students are about 2,100, 2,200 each year. All of our students live on campus in a very dynamic community. Our classroom sizes, like most, are small. The things that I'll say that are unique beyond that teacher-student integration are a few. So first, our professors consider themselves teachers and scholars. So not only are they excellent teachers for our students, but their scholarly work really is unparalleled, especially for a small undergraduate institution. So our faculty begin doing research with our students, even in their first class on campus, and engage students in that participation. So that, I think, is a unique experience of our campus. We also have students who not only have majors in a variety of areas, we have quite a few on offering, but they have the ability to not only take multiple majors. So about 80% of our students have double majors, but more than that are taking classes outside of their discipline. And so that flexibility to really go beyond a standard curriculum is an incredible, I think, component of Union. So what I mean is, for example, this first year class will have an opportunity to take a course on artificial intelligence. That course on artificial intelligence will be taught by a computer science professor, giving an idea of what the technological components are of AI. They'll be taught as well by a professor in philosophy about the ethical components of AI. What sort of ethics should we consider when we develop AI? They'll also be taught in that same class by a sociology professor who will talk about what is the impact of AI on our community. So when we talk about the ability for students to study across disciplines, it really does mean that students get a much more deep experience across disciplines and things they're interested in. Union is unique in that we offer, like I said, a variety of majors, but many of them are in engineering. So a good number of our students do pursue one of our engineering majors. They're ABET certified engineering programs. So at the end of 4 years, our students are certified in engineering. That is a unique component of Union. So I just like to mention that. Our economics professor and our computer science professor and our classics professor say we're all better because we have an engineering program at Union for our students to collaborate and develop and innovate with. Now, beyond just the majors that we offer, that integration that I talked about really, like I said, involves students taking courses with professors even outside of their disciplines to really grow their knowledge and integrate within their research as well. So students will be working with, for example, in engineering, one of our classes is taught by a classics professor to look at ancient aquatic systems and how they're still functioning today. So that integrated nature of our curriculum, again, is very unique in terms of the amount of courses taught across disciplines. We also are well regarded for our level of facilities and instrumentation. We completed just over a year ago, $100 million expansion of our integrated science and engineering facilities. We are a top-rated engineering and STEM school, and especially for women in the STEM, I think it's exciting to see that our women are pursuing STEM fields, graduating and obtaining research positions at the same level as their male colleagues. Now, Union really believes in the hallmark of education of going beyond the classroom. So rather than just sitting in the classroom and learning deeply from your professor, how do you put it into action? Research is one piece of that. 85% or more of our students are designing their own unique research, pursuing things that they're interested in state-of-the-art labs. The other students are also all open to research and projects through work with their professors. That's a part of all of our students' curriculum, to engage with research with their professors. Research really allows students to understand a lot more deeply what it is that they enjoy about what they're studying and how it actually happens in the real world rather than just learning from books. The other piece I mentioned about taking your learning and putting into action, I talked about this earlier, internships, or some people call them co-ops. There are opportunities for students to take what they're learning and bring it into the work environment. So whether it's with General Electric or IBM, if you're working with the state of New York in terms of policy, or in a communications program with the New York Times, we have programs all across our region and all across the world. Over 500 companies worldwide each year welcome our students to participate in internships. And again, the majority of our students are participating. The students who participate in an internship in their senior year, 75 to 85% of them have been offered a job by that internship in their final year on campus. So it definitely is a way for students to create relationships and build an opportunity to move into the professional world when they leave Union. The other piece of immersion, of course, is a way to go off campus in a study abroad. So you will be coming to the United States, but if you're interested in political science, you might want to go to Washington, D.C. to do our United Nations program, or you might want to travel to China to look at environmental policy comparisons between the US and China. You might want to travel to 3 different countries with our comparative health systems program. So our opportunities, again, for our students to go beyond just what is happening in the classroom, but to really immerse themselves into what they're learning, is an incredible experience for our students. Now, Though we are an incredible learning institution, we are a residential community. And so the community and the people and the fun that happen on campus are a big part of Union. Being residential means that your friends are all around you. You don't have to wonder where to find your friends, where to find the fun. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that not only are we residential, but we have 7 Minerva houses that students are assigned to. So a little like Harry Potter, but a little bit different, that before you come to campus, you're assigned to one of our 7 Minerva houses, and that is your Minerva for all 4 years. That Minerva house allows you the opportunity to choose if you want to live there, but also offers students opportunities for leadership in their house council. It offers an opportunity for additional activities, whether it's whitewater rafting or immersion programs with their Minerva students, or just hosting a speaker for dinner in their Minerva house. Minervas really are a way for students to go beyond clubs and organizations to decide how they would like to impact our campus community and what sorts of events they'd like to host. So Minervas are a big part of our campus community, students, clubs, and organizations, a ton of them, over 130. Our robotics club is very popular. We have a lot of students who participate in our international student organization each year. We have students interested in club sports and intramural sports. So there's quite a variety for you to get involved in. The other piece, of course, is volunteering in our community and going beyond our campus walls to make an impact on our surroundings. So whether it's volunteering with the city and looking at data for traffic analysis, or tutoring students from local schools, you have a way to get involved. Inclusion is a huge part of Union. So again, Union, bringing people together to learn in a community in Union together, bridging boundaries, breaking boundaries, supporting our students regardless of where they come from. I know many parents will ask the question about issues of Asian hate in the United States. And what I want to say is our campus is a warm and welcoming community where students find safety and they find support from our community. Our students have friends from all across the world and all across the United States. And we work hard on our campus to make sure that everyone feels included, has a community of support, and feels welcome, regardless of their background. Now, what you'll see on the next couple pages, oops, I gave away my surprise. So our students involved getting engaged in all sorts of different things. If you've met Rio, he is at the bottom right-hand corner. He did one of our spring break trips out to the Grand Canyon and hiking with a Union community. You'll see here that one of the things students often talk about is the fellowship or their brothers and sisters at Union and how they feel a part of our community right away. June, thank you for this picture. When June visited campus a couple of years now ago, he took this picture. These are called Knot shots. The Knot Memorial is at the center of our campus. It's a 16-sided building representing the world's religions and how we can bring people together to grow and learn from each other, again, fostering our ideals. But if you want, you come to campus, you'll see on Instagram, Union Knot Shot is a hashtag. So get your picture with the Knot Memorial. In terms of life after campus, so this is our general numbers. 98% of our students are employed, but you know what? 100% of our international students employed and in graduate schools of their choice within 6 months of graduation. So our international students are really successful and really well placed because of the things we talked about: internships and opportunities for study abroad, connection with professors, and really a clear mission as to where they will go after they're done at Union. In terms of application and financial aid, we are a common application school. We are SAT, ACT optional. We do require a test of English language proficiency. Interviews are encouraged. They're an opportunity for us to chat and get to know you a little bit more. So please take the opportunities to sign up for a virtual interview. We do have merit scholarships and need-based financial aid. So please, if you're interested in need-based financial aid, you will need to fill out the CSS profile. And we have a variety of ways for students to apply in terms of deadlines. So having said all of that, I hope I didn't go over my time. I lost track of my clock here somewhere. So I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Lutfi. Are you next, my friend?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, Nicole. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen with you. Hold on. And hopefully everyone is able to see my screen.
Yes.
Cool. Hi guys, my name is Lutfi Gerari. I'm the Assistant Vice President of International Enrollment at DePauw University. DePauw is an elite liberal arts and science university. We're located in Indiana in the Midwest. The state of Indiana is known to be friendly, hospitable. The weather tends to be mild throughout the year. What we care about at DePauw, we care about each and every single student at DePauw University. Our goal is to work with you to achieve uncommon success, not only during your 4 years at DePauw, but beyond. Now I would like to share with you a very brief video that talks a little bit about the student experience. And I want to make sure that you guys can hear the sound. So give me 1 minute. All right.
Everyone is rooting for you, which I think is something that's super cool and important. There's a school pride that extends far beyond academics and far beyond athletics. It goes into like who you are as a person and wanting to make you a well-rounded student.
What really made me fall in love with this place was the community. I mean, walking the streets with my tour guide, staying with my overnight host, just feeling as if I was instantly welcome to campus.
Even before coming to DePauw, I just like received a bunch of email introduce me DePauw Live, and it really gave me a really personal feeling of okay, I'm home.
All of the students I talked to were engaging. All of the faculty members I talked to were engaging, and people just wanted to have those conversations.
Just having prospective current students say hello to me while I'm walking around, that was really the thing that did it for me.
Having that community where you could meet someone new every day, but you would also be familiar with several people that you could come across, whether it was going to the cafeteria to grab lunch or walking to one of your classes in Julian, you are bound to know someone.
So you are not alone, people are here for you, and that's why I think the small community here just really make DePauw stand out.
There's so many support systems along the way that are here to help you grow and become yourself, whether it's the mentor program, your professors and staff, just different student organizations.
For my first year mentor, she just did a great job to have the one-on-one talk with me, and really she tried her best to know my background.
I think moving to DePauw, coming into a new environment, having a new roommate, that was all very scary to me. I wasn't aware that there were resources on campus to help me do that. Throughout my first year, I had my first year mentor throughout the entire way, and he really helped me become comfortable in this DePauw community and ultimately find my place.
Yesterday, I also talked to Dr. White for 30 minutes, and she, even as the president of the university, was willing to sit down with me and talk about some of my future plans and my goals.
And I think every professor here is just so approachable. They not only know your names, they also know who you truly are, and they will try their best to match your interest to some program that DePauw has over here.
So if you're really interested in community service, there's Chelsea Naylor in the Hartman House who's going to be willing to sit down and talk to you about what you're interested in and how you can do that here in Greencastle. Or if you're super passionate about pre-medicine or pre-law, there are people in the Hubbard Center who can help you pursue that passion. So I think for me, the incredible thing about DePauw is it's a passionate community. No matter who you are, no matter what you're passionate about, if you're interested in it and you're a student who's willing to work for it, someone will make it happen with you. And that's what I found in my own DePauw experience.
Wonderful. So a little bit more about DePauw. So really the video embodies who we are. We are a community that cares very much about one another. We are an international university. We've welcomed international students since 1837. So a long history of being a university that is diverse, that is very welcoming. A little bit more about DePauw. So we're #1 liberal arts university in the state of Indiana, and we are at top 47 in the US News Report. So a lot of accolades that show how DePauw is doing so well for its students. So a little bit more about our students. We have 1,700 students on campus, 1,600 in the College of Liberal Arts, and 87 in the School of Music. We're very, very proud of our diversity. We're very proud that over 25% of our students are diverse from different backgrounds, different cultures. We're also proud of our international members. We currently have 15% of our students who are international. So we have 49 majors and 56 minors. I would say that over 40% of our international students pursue a STEM field, and the majority of our students are pursuing a double major or a double major and a minor. Very proud that we've just added data science as one of the programs at DePauw, and also econometrics as one of the new majors that we have. We have new pathways in business, we have new pathways in journalism, but so many wonderful majors in the sciences, in the humanities, in the arts, really a diverse offering of programs. So a lot of times people ask me to describe a DePauw student. A DePauw student is driven. A DePauw student is curious. A DePauw student is friendly and social. When you walk on campus, you will see smiling faces. You will see people who care about who you are, who care to know where you're coming from, what you want to do with your life. Our goal at DePauw is to help you thrive. We are connected with you not only during your 4 years, but we'll be connected with you all throughout your life. Once you are a DePauw Tiger, you're going to be a DePauw Tiger for life. So what we do at DePauw, we care very much about access, global citizenship, and leadership. I'm going to expand. Access. So we focus on undergrad education. We don't offer master's or PhD programs, meaning that everything at DePauw is for you, students coming from high school. Faculty advising is so important to us. The number one job of our faculty is to work with you, to mentor you, to make sure that you are involved in research, to make sure that you have somebody to help you choose your classes, plan not only for your academic year, but plan for your summer as well. So research, internship, very, very important to us. Alumni networking is huge for us at DePauw. Wherever I travel all over the world, there are alums who are always willing to help our current students. We have alums who won Nobel Prize. We have alums who are successful business executives. We have alums who are thriving in politics. So we have a wild breadth of alums who are always willing to help you and assist you. Very proud of our alums. So this is just a small sample of some of our wonderful Japanese alums. You'll see that they are thriving in business. You'll see that they are engaged in education. They're doing so many wonderful things in Japan, in the US, in Europe, all over the world. So in addition to academics that are very, very rigorous at DePauw, we also offer honors and fellows program. These are wonderful programs, especially for international students. Why? Because these programs provide you with a practicum meaning either an internship or a research opportunity. If you join an honor scholar, you will be trained similar to a graduate program, to a PhD program. And the students who joined the honor scholars are now at Yale, they're working, they're doing so many wonderful things. Similarly for environmental fellows, if you are interested in sustainability and environment, and then management fellows for business and entrepreneurship, and finally media fellow for journalism, students interested in communication. So each program provides you with at least a semester-long paid internship. So we are a global campus. We are currently ranked number 3 for the number of students that we send abroad every year. We are very, very proud of that number. Many of our international students, even though they're studying abroad in the United States, they are pursuing study abroad, and they're going to Europe, they're going to South America, they're going to Africa, and they are studying, they're doing research. We also bring the world to DePauw. We're very proud that every year we at least invite two speakers who have had an impact in the world. So we've had Malala Yousafzai. She came to campus a year ago and gave a lecture and met with students. We've invited Bill Clinton, former president of the United States. We've invited so many wonderful speakers who come to campus and engage with our students. Leadership, that's an aspect that we value at DePauw. So Since you're joining DePauw your first semester, you're able to participate in all our leadership opportunities. So you can be a student leader, you can be a mentor, you can apply to be a resident assistant, you can be an ambassador helping other first-year international students. You can do anything that you want to do, and we are here to support you. We're very proud of our international students. We care very much about their success. We care that they are happy, that they're thriving. So many programs that we offer. I just want to mention one, the host family. We are very proud of our host family. Every single first-year international student that joined DePauw will be matched with an American family. You don't live with the American family because you live on campus. Everybody has to live on campus, and we provide you with choices. So you live in a dorm your first year, then you can live in an apartment, you can live in a house, but you will be connected with this family, and you can meet with them over the weekend. You can meet with them during Christmas, Thanksgiving. So we make sure that you feel part of the community, that you feel involved in our community. Students always ask me about outcomes. I'm proud to report that 2/3 of our international students stay in the US. They're either going to grad school or they're working in the US, and 1/3 they go back to their home country. We're proud of our numbers. I want to mention the number in the bottom, top 7% lifetime earning. This is a research that was done involving over 4,500 universities, and DePauw alums were top 7% in life earning, like how much they're making after finishing their education. Finally, we are common application. You can only apply to DePauw through the common application. We are test optional, so you don't need to submit your SAT or ACT. But if you do, you'll be considered for more scholarship. We are holistic, so we value everything that you submit to DePauw, your recommendation letters, your transcripts, your co-curriculars, everything that you've done will be valued, and we will review it at DePauw University. We provide merit scholarships, very, very competitive merit scholarships to all our international students. And in fact, the scholarships that we have, they are very similar, whether you're an international or an American student. We provide financial aid as well. Finally, if you want to learn more about DePauw, I encourage you to reach out to me. I will be very, very happy to email you, to chat with you, to schedule a Zoom. But yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. Hopefully I didn't go over the time.
Doing great. Thank you, Luffy.
You're very welcome.
All right, I'm gonna wait to share my screen. Yeah, there we go. All right, hopefully everybody can see a shot of Carleton now. So students, teachers, everyone, hajime it is so nice to connect with all of you. Thank you for spending the time. My name is Remy. I work at Carleton College. I'm going to try to give you a pretty quick overview, but hopefully we'll have more time for questions at the end. So if you're not familiar with Carleton, we are located in Northfield, Minnesota. If you don't know where Minnesota is, that's okay. We are smack dab in the middle of the country. So it's pretty easy to access Minnesota from just about anywhere, including Japan. There are direct flights through Delta, which is pretty nice. One of the really nice things about Northfield is that it's in a pretty small town. It's fairly quiet. It's only about 20,000 people. One of the unique things about Northfield is that we are a two-college town. So if you've ever heard of St. Olaf College, it's another world-class liberal arts institution, and it's located right across the river from Carleton. And this provides for a pretty unique academic and social atmosphere, right? Students are actually able to take courses at both institutions if you want. Most students don't, but if you find that there is a course offered at St. Olaf that is not offered at Carleton, you do have the ability to connect with them and take courses there free of charge, and vice versa. Same goes with off-campus studies programs if they offer something that Carleton does not offer. But I think the biggest overlap that we see is actually socially, right? So I'll talk more about the community at Carleton. It's very small, very tight, intimate on purpose, but you have access to an additional 3,000 students with the folks at St. Olaf, which is pretty nice. This is downtown Northfield. This is walking distance from campus. This spot is probably about a 5-minute walk from my office, right? So it's very accessible. You do not need a car to exist in Northfield, Minnesota. The other really nice thing about our location is that we're super close to the Twin Cities. So it takes about 40 minutes to get from the airport to Carleton College, and there's a bus that runs every day, right? So even when I travel, I don't drive my car, I take the bus because it stops right on campus. And the Twin Cities have almost 4 million people, right? Home to lots of amazing, sporting events and musical events and things of that nature. There's also some pretty stellar food. There's a pretty eclectic and diverse community within the Twin Cities, right? So if you ever feel like you want to get away from Northfield, it's very easy to do so. In terms of our community, I mentioned before, we are small on purpose, right? We have just over 2,000 students on campus. One of the really cool things that I get to do in my job is help to craft a community each year. We're small enough that we're not just trying to admit people, we're trying to be intentional about the students that we bring together each year, right? And you can see that reflected in these numbers. There's a reason, right? We have students from every state. There's a reason we have students from all around the world. There's a reason that, if we include professors and staff, that there are over 100 different languages spoken by the members of our community, right? That is all intentional. We think that students learn more from each other when they're different, right? We think that you challenge each other more when you're different, when your experiences are different, when your ideas are different, when your perspectives are different. So that is a big part of the job that we do. Just about 1/3 of our students identify as domestic people of color, what we call BIPOC here. And about 12% of our students identify as international, right? Students holding citizenship with a country other than the United States. As I mentioned before, we're pretty intentional about global outreach, right? Knowing that we want students from as many parts of the world with as many ideas as possible, right? So you'll see that reflected in our international student population. And I will clarify, this does look different than about 15 years ago when I was on campus, right? This map looked very, very different then. We've been pretty intentional with our efforts to make sure that when we say we have international students on campus, it doesn't just mean one part of the world. I want to talk a bit about academics, actually a lot about academics, because that's what you're here to do, right? Carleton is known for being a very rigorous institution. We are here to challenge our students. You will work pretty hard at Carleton, but I will say, as a Carleton alum myself, one of the things I really appreciated about Carleton, and one of the reasons I chose Carleton, was the fact that students were really excited to learn, but it was never a cutthroat environment, and it was never the only thing we were doing, right? So students are really excited to get into all niches of academia, but students understand that balance is necessary, right? And I think as we talk about, you have 4 top-notch institutions on this Zoom call, it can be really easy to fall into the habit of putting so much stress on yourself, to only be focusing on schoolwork, to always be working. Students find a really nice balance at Carleton. And I knew that was what I wanted, right? I wanted to work really hard in my courses, but I wanted to take time for myself too, right? I wanted to have a social life. I wanted to feel like I could go and grab coffee with a professor, or go support my friend in their soccer game, or go and catch a comedy show in the Twin Cities, right? And there is space for that. In terms of things you should know about Carleton academically, we use a trimester system. That is different than most colleges and universities in the United States, right? So most schools in the United States will use semesters. Some of them will use quarters, but it's more common to use one of those options versus a trimester. We do 3 10-week terms at Carleton. And for reference, most semesters, I think, are about 12 to 15 weeks, depending on where you're looking. 10 weeks feels really quick. As somebody who, I came from a semester system in high school and went back to a semester system in graduate school, trimesters move very, very fast. And when students talk about the academic rigor of Carleton, very often they are referring, at least in part, to the pace at which we move through coursework, right? So you can expect to really sort of be motoring through your classes while you're here. The trade-off is that students only take 3 classes at a time, right, at Carleton, versus usually 4 at a time at a semester school. So you're taking fewer classes at once, but actually over the span of a year, our students tend to take more classes, right? Because we do 3 classes 3 times rather than what is usually 4 classes twice. So less in one term, but you can fit more into your academic year, right? This means it's easier to get that academic flexibility that you need. It's easier to cram in a double major if you want, or a major and a minor, or a major and 2 minors, or an advanced certificate of study, whatever you want to do. We find that students are more focused on the academic flexibility of the trimester system. That tends to be a real focal point, rather than I can complete multiple majors or multiple minors. I think I heard my colleagues say there were pretty high percentages of folks doing double majors at Union and DePauw. That's not the case at Carleton. Only about 10 to 15% of our students will double major. I think the flexibility of doing a single major and maybe a minor is a real draw for our students, right? So it is possible. If you have 2 majors that you want to do, it's totally possible, but it means you won't have as many spaces in your academic career for free courses, right? Which is really what we find students are excited about. The average student at Carleton will take about 36 classes, maybe 36 to 40 during their 4 years here. Only 10 to 12 of those are required for your major, right? So once you're done with those 10 to 12 courses, you have 24 courses for whatever you are excited about, right? And as a liberal arts institution, that's really what we're honing in on, right? Many students, I would venture to say all students, might be more excited about the courses that exist outside of their major than the ones that exist in it, right? And this is not because we don't want you to love the courses in your major. We want you to be an expert. But one of the best things about liberal arts is that academic exploration, right? When we look at where students' interests lie, certainly they're excited about their major, but the students who come to Carleton tend to be excited about 4, 5, 6, 7 different things, right, academically, and you can explore all of them here, right? You don't have to choose. And I think that was one of the, again, as I reflect on my own academic journey, one of the big draws for me as far as liberal arts colleges go. This is Sade, one of our current students at Carleton. Off-campus studies is an option. Again, my colleagues have talked about this. Certainly you'll be traveling to another country if you come to Carleton, but if you have the travel bug and want to go elsewhere, that is totally possible and pretty easy. Financial aid follows you around the world at Carleton, so it makes it very, very affordable to do this. There's students who have gone on about 200 different programs at Carleton, right? And it actually ends up being about 70% of our student body who goes abroad here, right? So again, if you have the itch and you want to do it, you absolutely can. The trimester system makes it pretty easy to find space in your schedule to do that, but definitely something that is optional for you. One thing I like to mention about academics and particularly teaching and research, there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about liberal arts colleges in the US and abroad. I think oftentimes students feel like you can't do incredible, cutting edge, noteworthy research at a liberal arts college, and that could not be further from the truth. One of my colleagues mentioned the fact that, you know, we don't have master's programs and PhD programs at a lot of liberal arts colleges, right? And again, hit the nail on the head. The focus is on you. Every research position we have is for you. Every internship is for you. Every scholarship dollar is for you. Every leadership position is for you, right? And I say this having been a graduate student at a liberal arts college after I left Carleton, right? So I've seen how that works. And I think there is real advantage in it being an institution that only caters to undergraduate students. The other thing I'll say is that our professors are amongst the top in the country. And I caution you from looking too much into rankings. I think in the United States, we have too many rankings when it comes to colleges and universities, and you really have to kind of take those with a grain of salt oftentimes. But one thing I am very proud of is that when they do the rankings for undergraduate professors, Carleton has been at the top of the list for, I think, 9 of the last 10 years. I think actually Grinnell was the other school that was up there the year that I'm thinking of. So really, really top-notch professors who are there to teach and engage with you, right? We intentionally keep their class, their teaching requirements for each term low so that they're able to actually connect with students. That's a big part of the community here. When we talk about what our students are doing after Carleton, the answer really is everything. They're going all over the place into all different careers, many of which do not mirror what they did during their time at Carleton. Again, I think that is a hallmark of a liberal arts experience and a really, really wonderful thing. ultimately, most of our students are going on to more school. So if you are interested in the United States or elsewhere, doing more school, right? Master's programs, PhD programs beyond the undergraduate level, you will be in good company at Carleton. That is what about 80% of our students do go on to do within a few years after graduating from Carleton. In terms of the admissions process, it is a holistic one, right? So we're looking at certainly the courses that you take and certainly the grades that you're getting, but everything else as well, right? We want to ask ourselves, how do you like to spend your time inside class and outside of class? And we know there are some really intense academic demands on you, right? As students in Japan, we understand that. And we understand that your extracurricular life might look different, right, than students living elsewhere in the world, particularly now in the midst of a pandemic. So please don't be concerned about that. We get it. We're trying to be thoughtful about the ways in which we evaluate students. We do not require tests at this time as far as the SAT or the ACT. If you would like to submit those, you certainly can, but we are not expecting them with your application. Please do not put yourself in harm's way during a pandemic just because you think a test score will help your chances of admission. We do have early decision at Carleton. We do not have early action. If you're not familiar with that terminology, early decision is binding, right? So if you apply to Carleton or any school during an early decision round, the expectation is that if you are admitted, that's where you're going, right? So certainly your counselors can talk more with you about that if it's something that you want to consider. We do accept the Common App, we do accept the Coalition App, we do accept the QuestBridge app, we accept all three of them. If you have been at a high school that is teaching in English for more than 2 years, you do not need to submit an English proficiency test, though again, you're still welcome to do that. If your high school is being taught in Japanese or another language, we do ask that you submit an English proficiency test for us. In terms of financial aid, we do need-based financial aid at Carleton. There are no merit scholarships of any kind, right? Regardless of how good your grades, test scores, anything else are. That being said, we do meet full financial need for all admitted students, right? So if you are a student from a really low income home, that was my case as well. Financial aid at Carleton was the only reason I was able to go, right? Because I was getting basically a full ride to go. My family could not afford to put any money to college. So we meet you where you're at, right? If your family needs $5,000 US to attend Carleton, that's what you get if you're admitted. If you need $75,000 US to come to Carleton, that's what you get, right? That's the easiest way to understand a need-based financial system. I don't think we have time for questions right now, but hopefully we'll have a little bit of time at the end of the session. So I will stop sharing here and pass it off to, I think Grinnell is going to wrap us up.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
Grace,
thank you, everybody.
Grace, before you get started,
Yeah.
質問がありましたら、私宛てにチャットいただけるようにお願いします。Sorry, Grace. I'm collecting questions.
Oh, no worries. Can people nod if you can see my screen? Yes. Good. Beautiful. So hello, everyone. My name is Grace Robertson Lloyd. I just got married a couple weeks ago, so I'm still getting used to my new name. But it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I work in the Office of Admission at Grinnell College. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admission, and I'm also an alum. I graduated in 2016 from Grinnell College. So I'm also happy to answer questions about my own experience there. But when it comes to Grinnell, some of the things I want to highlight, you've heard a lot about the liberal arts and what makes that distinctive from my colleagues, which is great, but I'm going to focus on what specifically about Grinnell is a little different, just to avoid some repetition, because we are a very similar, awesome institution. So it's really great to be on the same panel as everybody else. So Grinnell is a small private liberal arts college located in a small town in Iowa. We have less than 10,000 people in the town of Grinnell, Iowa, but it is a college town. It has a movie theater, shopping, some job opportunities, internship opportunities, service opportunities for students to pursue if they would want to, especially service learning work study is something that students who receive federal work study are very interested in. So we have a lot of ways that students can be involved with that. And have that count as their work study for financial aid. We're a small school with 1,700 students on our campus and a more than $2 billion endowment, a lot of the funding of which goes towards financial aid, the resources and facilities on our campus, clubs and opportunities, internship funding, and more that I will get into over the course of this presentation. When it comes to the campus itself and who makes up this place, our students are incredibly diverse, and especially considering our location in a small rural town in the Midwestern United States, the fact that 20% of our students are international students, meaning non-US passport holders, is very unique. We have more than 50 countries represented on campus, all 50 United States states represented on campus. We also have more than 60 languages spoken on our campus. About a quarter of our students identify as domestic students of color at Grinnell, and about 15% of our students are the first in their family to pursue college or university. So we're really proud of the diversity that we have here at Grinnell and the fact that it's diversity represented in multiple ways on our campus, from identities, perspectives, religious backgrounds, everything. Now, when it comes to the academic program, it's been really interesting hearing how everybody has slightly different academic programs. So Grinnell also has a slightly unique program in that we have something called an individually advised curriculum. A better way to think about that is an open curriculum. So at Grinnell, there's only one required class outside of a student's major in order to graduate. You do have to take other classes, but you choose what those classes are. There's no general education requirements, no core curriculum. So it gives students a lot of freedom and flexibility. It enables students to be able to double major more feasibly, study abroad, and still graduate within 4 years, etc. Every student also receives 3 advisors from their first day on campus. So you have an academic advisor that helps you choose your classes, declare your major in your second year when it's time to do that, helps you think about study abroad programs and more. There's also a career advisor, which I'll get more into soon. And then every student also has a student life or residence life advisor as well. So a student that lives in the dorm with you and basically is there to make sure that you're transitioning okay into living and learning at Grinnell College, because we are very much a residential institution. Like my colleagues, we have very small class sizes, average class size is 17. They can get as small as like 5 or 6 students. I definitely had classes about that size when I was a student at Grinnell. And so if that's something that you're interested in, I think that's something that's definitely a hallmark of liberal arts college experiences. Now, when it comes to research, everybody has talked about research in really fun ways. Grinnell has a different kind of style of research project in that it is required of every single student to conduct some form of research or creative project before they graduate, either in or out of class. But then there are opportunities for students to dive a little deeper if they want to pursue an independent project, such as a mentored advanced project, where a student will work either one-on-one or in a small group with a faculty member or a couple of faculty members on either that faculty member's ongoing research or on something that they pursue and are passionate about themselves as a student. And so having that sort of investment in the college, because students who conduct those over the summer receive a stipend, and then also every student receives class credit. I think it's very empowering for students. It helps those that are especially pursuing postgraduate programs and things like that. And it's basically graduate level research as an undergraduate student. So like my colleagues have said, it's one of the benefits sometimes of having a fully undergraduate population. You're not competing against PhD and master's students for awesome research opportunities. And one thing I also like to say selfishly is that research exists in every single department. I was an English and theater double major, and I was able to do research in both of those departments, both mentored advanced projects that had either funding or class credit attached to it. So it's really awesome. It does not just exist in the sciences, it exists in every single department. I think that's also something that the liberal arts take very seriously. Now, when it comes to study abroad and some of the ways that we involve our students with the world, everybody has talked beautifully about how off-campus study is an important part of their programs. Same thing at Grinnell. We really want students to take advantage of off-campus study programs before they graduate. That can either be a full semester or year-long program, which is the most popular way that students go off campus, or it could be a short-term program, or it could be a course-embedded travel opportunity that takes students to a few different countries for 4 to 5 weeks. So there are all different ways for students to pursue off-campus study opportunities. And the big thing is that, just like what some of my colleagues have mentioned as well, we want to make it accessible for students to pursue those opportunities. So credits will transfer back. You'll graduate on time. Very important. Also, when it comes to financial aid and merit scholarships, those will travel with you. So they are portable on your program as long as it's one of our pre-approved semester or year-long programs. And then our short-term programs are heavily funded. Each student pays just $400, and that can even be waived if you go to financial aid and need it to be. So they really want these opportunities to be accessible. Grinnell is a school that we really want students to have a sense of global understanding. Knowing about the world and experiencing it firsthand is something we want every student to do, either literally in the field, so to speak, by going off campus, or even on campus through all the different programs and opportunities we have, like the Peace and Conflict Studies Department or the Institute for Global Engagement and other departments and offices of the same nature. Now, when it comes to post-grad, I always feel a little like, oh, I don't want to make people anxious talking about this because you haven't even started college yet. But it is important to know how schools can prepare you for postgraduate life. So Grinnell has that first year career advisor that I mentioned before. That relationship is really about helping students start to understand what they want from their career. So you don't have to know exactly what you want to do right away, but it helps students to think what they value, if they want a job that travels, if they want a job for a variety of different reasons. And so having this career advisor relationship as a first year student is critical to help students get that clarity so that when they are applying for internships and job shadowing opportunities or alumni networking opportunities, they have some background in what they actually want to go into. And that advisor also points students towards the internship funding and the alumni databases that we have available for students. My fun fact about this photo is that the founder of Intel is a Grinnell alum. And so we have a very good connection with sending students to Intel, either for a job internship or even what we call industry treks, where we send students to a specific place to basically dive into an industry and meet alums working in those different companies, et cetera. So it's pretty cool. And then when it comes to postgraduate life for Grinnell in terms of like programs and institutions that students might want to attend, our students love learning. That's why we are 7th in the nation for PhD productivity out of all colleges and universities. We're really proud of that fact. And 88% of our students are accepted to their first or second choice grad program or institution. I think a lot of that, again, has to do with the career advising, the alumni networking that students are doing as a first year student, and then also the research opportunities and ways that students can prepare themselves with their resume, et cetera, for postgrad. Now, I always like to talk a little bit about student life because it is so important. Grinnell is, yes, located in a small town, but we have a really robust student life program, organizations, student government association, et cetera. We have so many different ways for students to be involved, so many different events. And the important thing to know is that the events are all inclusive, so they're not excluding students. We don't have sororities or fraternities. We really want this to be a campus that everybody is a part of every event and every activity and is welcome at all of these different events and activities. And that's also why all the different events on campus are free for students. So making this a place that really values experiential equity is what we call it, but basically where everybody has access to these different things is really important for Grinnell. So that's why we make it so accessible to be involved. And then we also have a lot of programming just to support our international students. Again, 20% of our students are international, so it's really important to make sure that students know that they are welcome here at Grinnell in Iowa. And so My favorite program is the Friends of International Students program. Other colleagues have talked about host programs. We're also very proud of ours. I have 2 host students, and it's just an amazing way for our staff and faculty, but also community members, people in the town that might have nothing to do with the college, to interact with and welcome and learn about the cultures of international students, and then vice versa, be there as a support system for international students that are very far from home and living in Iowa. So it's a really great way to get into the town. The Office of International Student Affairs facilitates that program, as well as a number of other international specific programs that exist on campus. Now, everybody's talked really great about holistic review, so I feel like I don't really need to talk much about holistic review and applying to Grinnell in that sense. We are also a holistic review school. We also accept the Common Application or the QuestBridge application, and we also are test optional for students who are applying for this current applicant cycle. We'll re-review that in the spring if you are not a senior, so that's why I say that. And when it comes to what we're looking for students that are strong all around. Grinnell is a highly selective institution, so I always want students to be aware of that and know that feel free to reach out to us, demonstrate your interest in Grinnell, and really sign up for interviews, interact with us, because it can help your application. When it comes to financial aid, we really want this to be an accessible education. That's why we meet the 100% of the financial need for all students, international and domestic, with no loans. So making this an education that, the hardest part is getting accepted, not affording it once you do, is really, really critical for Grinnell. So that's why we try to make it so accessible. We give out more than $8 million in aid every year just to our international student population. We have 1,700 students, so that's a very significant number that we're giving out every year. We really want this to be, again, an accessible and affordable education. And that is my presentation. So please feel free to reach out. I assume we're going to do some Q&A right now, so I'll take this off the screen in a moment, but I'll also drop my email in the chat if you have further questions or want to follow up. But thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. I have a more general question that I will like to present to you. And if time permits, maybe we can break into a different room for specific questions about your school. The first several questions regarding English proficiency test, IELTS. Some students prefer to take that test. Do you have any general guideline, the minimum score, that kind of thing, that'll be helpful? So that's question number one for everybody. The other question is, if you can think about words to describe your school, culture, environment, they would like to know as a comparison among 4 of you. If you can talk about also weakness of your school. You can talk about how wonderful your schools are, but if you can point about something that you're not happy about, we would like to know that too. So any of those questions, if you can touch upon that. Nicole, can you start addressing some of these questions?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I sense from my colleagues that we're similar in that we accept the IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo test of English proficiency all equally. IELTS, I'm a big fan of IELTS. So if people, prefer that, there's no problem choosing that. On average, our students have a 7 or higher, and we're looking for a 6.5 or higher on all of the sub-scores. There's some flexibility with that. Some students do better on some portions than others, but that's on average what we see with the IELTS. In terms of, words that describe union, I think some of the things I mentioned before, right? Our students are driven but curious. So they may be very focused on what it is that they want to pursue or study, driven to go far with research and opportunities, but curious to see, what other things might be out there? What other things might I want to try? One of my favorite students, he says, we're a work hard, play hard kind of school. We're work hard at what we do, but we also have a lot of fun. And that I think comes through in our campus setting. So students are just well balanced. It's not, a overwhelmingly pressure cooker, stressful environment. In terms of like something that I don't like about Union, I mean, I'm a runner and it's up on a hill, and that is it's a challenging finish to get back on campus. That's the worst thing I can say, is that it's really like, if you're walking back to campus, it's a little bit of a rise, a hill, and you're a little bit ready to lay down afterwards. So I don't know. I love our campus. I think it's, such a strong community. People talk about community and welcomeness over and over again. I'll think about a negative, June, and get back to you.
Lutfi.
So I think Nicole, summarized everything regarding the English proficiency. So I think we're probably going to all agree that we will accept, TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. We want to be as flexible as possible, and our goal is really to admit students to help students. So we're not trying to add obstacles. In regard to describing students, so the goal is to be a little bit different. We have amazing universities here in this lineup and wonderful colleagues. So I need to try to be a little bit different. So what I'm going to say about DePauw, I'm going to keep mentioning the community. I think the community is something that we are very, very proud of at DePauw. We care very much about our international students. We want them to be part of the community, and not only during their 4 years, but also beyond their 4 years. And I would describe our students as leaders. They care very much when they come to DePauw about all the leadership opportunities available. So that's something that I hear over and over from our international and our American students. In terms of weakness, I think I'm going to be a little bit more general and say that I think the misconceptions with liberal arts. I think it's still, many students in the US and internationally think of a liberal arts university as only offering arts and humanities. And that's a misconception that I'm hoping will change, hopefully with all of us, talking to students and sharing all the wonderful STEM programs that we have and everything, all the offerings that our universities have. But I don't really have something specific weakness about DePauw. I'm proud of our international numbers. I'm proud of the support. So it's going to be a little bit hard for me to tell you weakness about DePauw.
Remy?
Yeah, I'll chime in here. So I am just going to throw Carleton's specific recommendations for English proficiency tests into the chat. Students, those are not hard and fast rules, right? Like, have we ever taken a student with scores lower than this? Certainly. But that is in general what we recommend as a set of minimums. And we have no preference on which English proficiency test you take. In terms of describing our community, we hear more than anything, we hear collaborative and we hear quirky. If quirky is not a term you are familiar with, it means sort of nerdy, a little bit weird, a little bit eccentric, which when I heard those words, I was like, perfect, like that's my spot. I found that the community very much reflected those words. The collaboration on campus was like nothing I had ever seen. I came from a high school system that was very competitive in a way that was really not fulfilling for me. Students were constantly trying to beat each other and be better than each other. And I just didn't really like that. And I found that at Carleton, people wanted to work together. It didn't matter what score you got. Nobody asked me ever what score I got. And that for me was really refreshing. Also, I was a huge closet nerd in high school. So connecting with nerdy friends in college was wonderful for me at Carleton. I will say a specific weakness that I think, I guess, reflects broadly on the US system. So most of the work that I do actually in admissions revolves around access and equity. And there are huge issues with that at Carleton, as well as other places, right? I won't get on a soapbox, but I will say 45% of our students at Carleton are able to pay the fees in their entirety. And that's wonderful to come from a family that can do that. And if that is the case for your family, that is awesome. But that makes it really hard for families who don't have that sort of financial luxury, right? And that's the sort of system we have built these colleges on in order to meet the financial demands that we have. There's a real imbalance when we look at socioeconomic diversity, and that reflects itself in the funding models that we have. Scholarship packages, I think, are really really generous, but I wish there were more of them. That's what I will say.
Grace?
Yeah, and I will also drop in the chat just to not run through all the numbers and everything. Grinnell's English proficiency like explanation and some of the averages that we have available online. But please know, just like everybody else has said, that's not like a absolute like cutoff or anything like that. It is holistic review, and we don't have like a specifically required score, but these are the scores that we tend to see and like to see. When it comes to distinctiveness for Grinnell, I think there's a lot of things that make Grinnell distinctive. The curriculum, for one point, just with this open curriculum where you only have one required class, that means about 2/3 of the classes that our students take are outside of their major department in whatever they want. That is so fun and unique. It means that for a lot of our students who know exactly what they want to do when they graduate, like let's say you want to be a lawyer, awesome. You can start taking classes related to that topic in your first year. You can start taking computer science courses in your first year. You don't have to wait to get through general education requirements to begin taking the courses you're most excited about. It also means that then you can take those courses for your major that you're really excited about, and also take classes that are fun that you don't want to major in without being scared of not being able to graduate on time. So that, I think, is something so unique about Grinnell. Only like 30 or 40 schools in the United States have an open curriculum, and there's different levels of open curriculums as well. It's always good because Grinnell does have one required class. Some schools have none, some have 3, that sort of thing. So I think it's all really interesting, but it's something that's definitely distinctive about Grinnell. Something that I would like change or don't like about Grinnell. I'll say like the obvious one: if you're not used to cold weather, it can be a little bit of a start to go to a place that, it snows. It definitely snows here. But I think Grinnell does do a really good job of making sure that, like, if you are outside in between classes, there's loges, which are basically outdoor hallways. So you're covered and protected. The only time you're really outside and exposed to the elements is walking across the street or down a sidewalk to your next class. But they do a good job making the whole campus pretty snowproof. And then they also have really good trips that take students out to Des Moines or Iowa City, where they have stores that sell very good, just like cold weather clothing, which I always recommend students purchase. I think that's the big thing. It is really beautiful to see snow, but it does get cold here. I never want to pretend it doesn't. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I know it's cold. Yes, I know. One student says, my GPA is not very good. How do I overcome this weakness in one area of the application somehow? Can anyone comment on how you look at application as a whole?
I can chime in on that. And I smile because I have heard students say this before. And so often, if I hear this from a student in Japan, their GPA is actually really good. So I bet it's better than you think. Let me start with that. Here's the other thing I will say. I think all of us talked about holistic admissions, and you'll hear that, right? Like from a lot of colleges and universities in the United States. I think that liberal arts colleges in particular pays some attention to this, right? Partly because we focus so much on the residential aspect of college, right? Which means we need to understand what sort of person you are on our campus at all times. It's not just how are you in class and then you're off campus living somewhere else, right? Like we have you living in our houses and our dorms we have you attending our sporting events or doing, you know, the internships that are a 20-minute walk from our campus, right? Like we have you constantly as part of our community. And I think all of us are trying to make sure we're bringing students to campus who are going to be interesting, curious, engaged community members, right? Our job is not just to admit the students with the best grades and the best test scores. And the reality is, if that was our job, we wouldn't have jobs because computers could do that, right? Our job is to bring students that we think are going to be the best overall fit, right? Students who are going to be challenged by our institution, but who are going to rise to that challenge, right? Very often we talk about evaluating potential rather than perfection, right? So if your grades weren't perfect, that's okay. Mine weren't either, right? And I managed to get through. I stumbled a lot, but you know, I did it. So I would say don't focus so much on beating yourself down for where you think you are lacking. I would say, I'd really encourage you when you are applying, focus on telling us the most, as much as you can in your application, who you are, right? Like that is the best thing you can put into an application. The more authentic and the more of you we have in your application, the better.
Well, application's going to go up to Carleton. That's great. Okay. Anybody else want to comment?
One thing I would say too, I think that students don't realize is that though we list, many of us list our GPA averages, we look at, so there are schools in Japan that are very selective and they tend to suppress GPA or grades. And so I would say students should know that we're aware of a particular scale or level of selectivity or rigor of high schools in Japan based on their varying experiences. So we look at how you're doing in comparison at your school as well, and understand the level of rigor at your school. So we look at you in terms of what your school environment and your grades are, and that might be very different than another student from another school or the way another school presents their GPA. So I think it's important to know that we do look at that. We look at you in the framework of your high school and the academic setting at that high school.
Very quickly, so we all mention averages. That means that we don't mention minimum. So students should realize that we don't mention a minimum for a reason, because we truly want to see everything. We want to evaluate every single piece of the admission materials that they submit. So don't worry about, your particular GPA, but just make sure that you are presenting yourself to the best of your ability. Because what we care about is fit. We want to make sure that you're a good fit for us, but that also that our institutions are a good fit for you.
Thank you, Lupi. Well, I think I'm going to move on to a breakout room session. So admission officers, make sure you go to your school, not other school, to address your school. So people will be choosing which room to go to. So I hope this will work. And again, thank you for your participation and look forward to seeing everybody down the road. So I'll open up